What happens when we keep questioning? What happens when we keep being curious? What happens when we keep identifying that actually boxes are not a helpful thing to squish people into, right? Like, there's such beautiful uniqueness in humanity, and we all have so many different things to offer in so many different ways. And if we can tap into that and get excited by that rather than being told to be afraid of it, which is so much of the narrative, right? It's like, oh, be afraid of the differences. They're deficits. They're a bad thing is the narrative that gets put out. But actually it's like, well, no, it is just a difference. It's a different way of being. It's a different way of thinking. It's a different way of processing. And that comes with so much richness of experience, I think, and so many opportunities to ask those big questions and to change things and question and be curious.
Welcome to the Unconventional Business Podcast, your place for real stories of real people growing their businesses in the real world. Most of us are neurodivergent in some way, but of course everyone is welcome. This is the place for rule breakers, narrative dismantlers, and those who just want to forge their own unique path in the world. You will find no do it my way or 6 steps to 6 figures and all that BS here. My guests and I will offer guidance that allows you to take just the bits you like and easily apply them to your business. And of course, to bin the rest if you like. After all, building a successful business, whatever success means to you, is about creating something with structure and flow, not something rigid that feels like wearing someone else's clothes. Join me on this journey and together, let's do business differently. Joining me today is Ren Dawson, a neuroaffirming coach guiding late discovered neurodivergent women and non-binary folks to explore new ways of working and holding space to discover what being neurodivergent means to them. There's so many things in there that I love. Thank you so much for being here today, Ren.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm very, very happy to be here.
Well, there's some clues in your intro, but please, in your own words, tell me what makes you unconventional.
Yeah, there's quite a few clues in there. I think a number of things, but a big part is being an autistic ADHDer myself and finding that out later in life and discovering all the different ways that has affected me in my identity, in the way I do things, in the way I interact with other people. And it got me super curious as to how I could then support others that were finding themselves in a similar situation, maybe self-identifying, maybe just diagnosed and not sure what to do next, like not sure what to do with that information. Like no one was really there to help you figure out what it really means for you as an individual and to unpick some of that and get curious about it and get curious about what it means in your work and in your life too. So yeah, that's probably what makes me quite unconventional, is that desire to lead from a place of curiosity and help other people to get into that kind of space of thinking and to experiment and really discover what's helpful and what isn't so helpful.
I love that. Yeah, curiosity is often for us neurodivergent people one of our strengths, but not one that's maybe seen for what it is or recognised or valued. So it's really amazing, and I'm sure you probably had this, where you start to see your clients, like the light bulb starts to go off that they have permission to be curious about something rather than judgmental, and then all the magic shit starts to happen.
Exactly. As soon as we're able to just see it for what it is and go, oh, that's a should that I've borrowed from somewhere else in society that doesn't belong to me, and now I've seen it and now I understand it. It's like, that's the should, but what's the want? What do I personally want? What do I feel drawn to? What does that look like? And that's a really fun place to be, because then it opens up so many more ways of doing things. So yeah.
Yeah. And then when you look at your options, you realise there are so many more of them, right?
Right, yeah.
So how is this amazing work that you do different from how you started out?
It's a great question. I've had a very squiggly career.
Standard for
ADHDers, yeah. The best way I can think of describing it is that curiosity thing again. I've always been constantly curious and I've always wanted to understand everything as much as I possibly can. And initially that led me to be like, okay, if I want to understand the world and the place that I'm living in, I'm going to understand physics. I'm going to go fully down the science route. Ended up doing particle physics, ended up doing a doctorate in particle physics, and trying to uncover the most mysterious particles that are out there and really understand how they behave, what it looks like, what it could mean for us in terms of technology, in terms of scientific advancements, all of that, answering the really mysterious questions. I think I realised sort of midway through all of that actually there's more questions than answers.
Yeah.
And that wasn't the solution. I wasn't going to understand the entire world through understanding physics. I was just opening a door to more unknown and more mystery. And that kind of made me like look inwards and go like, oh, okay, this isn't it. Maybe something else is it. And so then it became like an interest in technology. Then it became an interest in people. And I just tried to sort of each time understand and get curious about what it was that I was kind of throwing myself into. So yeah, I went from particle physics into educational technology, and then into coaching, and then now purely on the kind of neurodiversity coaching side of things, because now that's where the curiosity has turned. It's like, well, if we can't understand our universe completely, how can we understand ourselves a little bit better at least? How can we enjoy the time that we have here and find ways of being comfortable and thriving rather than feeling stressed and anxious and depressed and everything else that comes with that?
Yeah, I love that. It just makes me think of how most neurodivergent folks are very familiar with the existential crisis.
Yeah.
Like I just said before we started recording that I've been having one recently, and I think there's a thing where like maybe that's the purpose that we serve in society, is we are the people that are just so curious about the big questions. Like we just spend our days not just looking at things, but looking at things and wondering why they are the way they are.
Yeah.
And it's like amazing and awful at the same time, because you can't turn it off and you can't decide. Like I can't just enjoy a nice day. There's part of me that's like, are we the only planet with life? Like, will there be other planets with like that part of my brain is just that's always happening. It's like a blessing
Exactly
and a curse. But
yeah.
I love that took you into particle physics. Like that's just incredible.
It's exactly that. It was that I can't stop thinking about this. I can't stop wondering about it. I can't stop trying to understand it. So like, why not? Why not like throw myself into that and discover it a bit more? And then, as I said, just discover how much more mystery exists behind all of that. So yeah.
Yeah, and then that feeds a whole
I love
bunch
the deep
of
questions.
Yeah. Then that feeds a whole bunch of new existential dread.
Yeah.
So you've mentioned like you work with late discovered neurodivergent folks. Am I then to assume you are also late discovered? And if so, what did that look like for you?
Yes, I am late discovered. It was a really interesting kind of uncovering for me. For years, I attributed everything to anxiety. And that's what I was told, like over and over again. Oh, it's anxiety. Here are some meds that you can take, etc., etc. And having lots of therapy and exploring every possible well-being solution you can imagine, right? If you can think of it, I've probably done it. Because I thought that was the answer. I was like, if I'm anxious, then if I throw all my effort into self-care and exercise and eating well and sleeping well and all these things, then that will fix it. And putting quotation marks around that, fix it. And that wasn't the case. And I was still struggling. And I was in work and I was burning out every 3 to 6 months, pretty much like regular, circular. And I just started to notice like certain environments were particularly stressful for me. And like it was a Monday morning all hands where everyone came together in the office and there was a lot of people and lots of complex noise. And I could feel my whole body reacting to it and just being like, nope, can't deal. And then out when I was socializing with friends in busy environments as well, I could feel my whole body being like, nope, can't deal with it, too much. And like losing the ability to articulate myself, feeling panicked and yeah, not sure what exactly I was experiencing. And then I watched a documentary on BBC called Inside Our Autistic Minds. And there was a comedian on there called Flo. And it was Flo's story where she talked about masking in particular. And like, as she was describing masking, I was like, oh, wow, okay, hang on a minute. that sounds like me. That sounds like exactly what I've been doing my entire life. Like, I've been presenting as this version that people want me to be, and like changing how I am depending on the person in front of me, and burying all this other stuff underneath that, like burying all of the natural urges that I had to move, to express myself, to like to just exist, and burying all of the sensory stuff that I was reacting to and thinking, nope, that's fine, just ignore it. And all of that was coming out as mental health challenges, right? Because I wasn't paying attention to all of the sensory needs and to my environment that I needed to create for myself. And so, yeah, everything was just a challenge. So that's what got me really thinking about it. And I started to read more and research more and talk to other people and eventually get myself a diagnosis. But yeah, it was a long process, a long kind of gradual uncovering.
Yeah. Isn't it funny how so many of us have had that moment where we've read someone else's experience and their like perspectives that maybe share, I don't know, like a different presentation or some nuances, and like that's what helps crack the mystery. Because I think if you'd sent me the list of some ADHD, and I put air quotes around symptoms because I don't like that terminology, let's call them traits because I prefer that. Yeah. If you'd sent me the list of ADHD traits when I was like 25, I'd go, none of them are me. You know, things like the whole narrative about getting bored easily. I'm like, how can I possibly get bored when there's like 500 different thoughts and ideas and soundtracks and memories and all the things going on in my brain? Like, it's impossible to get bored. But if you take it up a level, gets bored of jobs, relationships, living situations, friendships, then I'm like, oh, now that is me. So I think it's kind of wonderful that we're in this place now where there's so many people talking about how things like ADHD and autism look in real life, and sharing those nuances and different manifestations and presentations.
Yeah, definitely.
And as a segue to one of my favourite soapboxes, it's one of the reasons I get so mad with that whole ADHD as a trend, people are diagnosing themselves off TikTok thing, because I'm like, well, if so, where are these people? Because all I'm speaking to is people for whom, as you've described, it's been a painful, hard process filled with doubt and imposter. But you know, like for you, being told it's anxiety, and actually anxiety was only ever the symptom, not the problem, you know, and having to go against what other people are telling you. Like, it was not like, I don't know anyone who's just woken up one morning and going, I quite fancy being an ADHDer. Like who signs up for this shit?
It's not, yeah, you're not going into your wardrobe and being like, oh yeah, that's a cool piece of clothing I'll throw on today. Yeah. Like, perfect, suits me well. No. It's, yeah, I can join you on that soapbox. I get so frustrated with that narrative because it's so dismissive and undermining of so many people's experiences, and of that very real kind of penny drop moment of like, oh my gosh, wow, is this what it is? Is this what I've been experiencing my entire life but not had a name or an explanation for? But it's always been there. I've not just woken up and it's there. Like, it's always been there. It's always been present. I've always known that I was different. You get given countless other labels throughout your lifetime that are not helpful. So when you finally land on a label that does help and gives you that understanding and that awareness, like, it's so damaging for someone to then say that it's a trend or is something that you're choosing to associate with because it's the cool thing right now. Like, it's the thing to talk about. It's like, yeah, no, it's a really sad misunderstanding, I think, from a lot of people for that to come. Yeah.
Yeah. And ultimately, like you said, like, what labels are we living with, or have we been living with already? You know, like lazy or stupid or unmotivated, or, you know, like that. I did a post about it on LinkedIn today. The only answer we've ever had thus far is that we're a bit shit.
Right, yeah.
You know, like, that's all you can ever come back to. And I think what you said there is really important, and that is one thing I do agree with in the diagnosis criteria, is it's
severely affects at least 2 areas of your life, and you can track it back to childhood. And that is the point, is that, like you said, I've always felt different. I've always felt different too. I've always known my like delusional fantasy was that everyone else was robots and I was the only human.
Right, yeah.
That's what I used to think. And I used to have these, or like I was living in the Truman Show, because my brain just didn't have any way to make sense of why I felt different. And like you are finally getting your user manual, but those traits, that it's always been there. It's just you didn't understand what it was or why it was happening. So yeah. But anyway, do you have any other soapboxes? What else gets on you on your soapbox about neurodivergence?
Oh, this is a wider one, but it crosses over with neurodivergence. But it's this whole deal around societal expectations, right? All the things that we have to manage, given that we are living in a capitalist, cis-heteronormative, neuronormative society, and all the baggage that comes with that in terms of what we're sold that we should be doing and how we should be living and how we should be feeling and functioning, etc. Right? This whole illusion of the so-called normal, and again, the damage that does to people in trying to make them feel like they have to make themselves fit into these categories or into these boxes, and desperately sort of squashing all of their traits and all of their individuality and expression into these confined boxes, and then wondering why they're struggling and wondering why they're feeling the way they're feeling. So yeah, that one really frustrates me, and it's upsetting because I see it so much in coaching as well. Like, so many people come and speak to me, and I see it in myself too. And you find yourself saying all of these shoulds or holding yourself to these standards that we've been told that we need to follow, and then feeling like crap about yourself all the time, and like feeling so much shame around that because you supposedly can't fit in to whatever's expected in that way, shape or form. And again, it's not healthy. It's not a helpful way of existing. And when we can see that box for what it is and see how those standards have affected us and penned us in, and start to maybe, I don't know, push on some of those walls a little bit and break through some of those walls a little bit and see what's on the other side of them. Again, like, so much awesomeness and creativity and freedom of expression and freedom of just being is there.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and it's a form of oppression, isn't it? And we aren't doing, like, coming back to that point earlier about, you know, what role do we or could we serve in society? Like, why are we here? Like, we are the people that push on the walls and ask the questions, and because we're not, or have not historically been valued for being those people or recognised for it, then we're just miserably living inside the box, without anyone saying, oh, you're not someone that fits in the box, right? You need to stand outside of it and just make sure it's operating okay and ask questions, and, you know, like, be the person that spots how we could do this better so that it works better for everyone else. I mean, I don't know. I did a post about something the other day on LinkedIn, and someone commented something like, what if neurodivergent folks are actually the majority and this whole system was built by a small, rich subset of them? And I was like, oh, let's get into conversations like that. Like, let's tear this whole fucking thing wide open. Like, give me all the conspiracy theories. Like, it so clearly isn't working. And there's this growing group of us going, what the fuck? Like, at some point, we're going to reach breaking point. And, like, I'm so excited to find out what comes as a result of that. Like, all systems go through cycles.
Mm-hmm.
And we are dismantling so many things. Like, I hope I live long enough to find out what happens next.
Right? Yeah. Like, what happens? What happens when we keep questioning? What happens when we keep being curious? What happens when we keep identifying that actually boxes are not a helpful thing to squish people into, right? Like, there's such beautiful uniqueness in humanity, and we all have so many different things to offer in so many different ways. And if we can tap into that and get excited by that rather than being told to be afraid of it, which is so much of the narrative, right? It's like, oh, be afraid of the differences. they're deficits, they're a bad thing is the narrative that gets put out. But actually it's like, well, no, it is just a difference. It's a different way of being. It's a different way of thinking. It's a different way of processing. And that comes with so much richness of experience, I think, and so many opportunities to ask those big questions and to change things and question and be curious.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a whole bunch of goodness we're missing out on. You know, like, what would a world be like in which all workplaces were neuroaffirming, for example?
Mm-hmm.
And can we have that conversation without relating it back to, if you make your workplace neuroaffirming, it's better for business? Because that really pisses me off. But like, maybe we can have that conversation from a place of like how that will be better for humanity.
How it's better for everyone, right? Like, often people talk about that. We talk about reasonable adjustments and making changes in the workplace. And really, it is helpful for absolutely everyone in the office.
Yeah.
It's not just for the neurodivergent folks, it's for everyone, because all of our brains work slightly differently from one another. And if we can, again, sort of question the norms and the way that things have been done in the past and the way that things should be done, blah, 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 then again, it's like that. Does that free up a load more space for everyone in terms of creativity and in terms of ways of processing and working and operating in a different way? That, it's probably going to end up people being more productive as a result, just because we're giving that space and that ability to interact and communicate and function in a way that supports you best in that kind of working environment.
Yeah, definitely. I sometimes say to my son, because he's like, why is school 5 days a week? And I'm like, yeah, great question. And he's like, I feel like it would be better if it was 4 and then we had a 3-day weekend. I'm like, yeah, I totally agree with you. And it's hard enough for working parents who get 5 weeks off a year, and then the school holidays are like 13 weeks. Like, insert some maths that does not add up. And I think the working world will go to 4 days a week, and maybe school will be 4 days a week eventually. Like, I could see the 4-day week being more accepted and more normal, if you like, in his lifetime, and I hope it does go that way. But yeah, it's just amazing to think we're in the messy middle of this, and like, a lot of my clients, I'm having conversations where I'm having to remind them of all the conventions they're standing outside of, making the choices they're making. And yes, of course, it does still remain hard to just sign off and take a nap in the middle of the day. You will have a lot of friends who don't work for themselves, who just assume you're swanning around and drinking coffee. Like, you have to remember how many norms you're going against with even just the most basic choices when you work for yourself. This will all seem very different in 20 years' time, without meaning to sound like a twat. You know, like, a lot of us are breaking new ground. Like, we are the sort of cutting edge of this, and the cutting edge means it fucking hurts.
Yeah.
What the fuck is going on?
Trying to get in through the window.
Oh my God, they're having a fucking fight out there. Come on then, come in and stop pissing about. Jesus Christ. It's like having a pair of children, I swear to God.
I'm so here for the cat energy. I think it's brilliant.
They don't give a fuck.
No,
I feel like
not.
They are nature's natural ADHDers. Intense periods of activity and then just nothing and sleep.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't give a fuck. They're not beholden. They're naturally independent. And they're just like, I'm going to do whatever the hell I like, whatever I want. I love it. They remind me to just be more cat.
Exactly.
So if you could wave a magic wand, thinking about these philosophical questions that we've gotten into today, what would you change and why?
I would love to suddenly give everyone a level of understanding and acceptance of neurodivergence.
Just like pop it in, like a download, just pop it into their brains. Oh, love that.
Just a little update. Here you go. Here's a little
software update.
Yeah. This might help.
Yes.
Because just the shift that would occur, I think, in terms of like miscommunications, in terms of all of that judgment that can come and the stereotypes that are there, if we could shift that and just, implant some kind of understanding or compassion or whatever it looks like, and then the number of things that would be easier for everyone again. Like if someone could sort of do a whole Freaky Friday situation and just hop into a neurodivergent person's brain for the day and feel it and experience it and be like, oh my goodness, okay, this is what this is like. This is what you're managing on a day-to-day basis. No wonder the work environment feels stressful. No wonder when I insist that you sit there with your camera on through the 2-hour meeting with no breaks that you're struggling. Like, it all makes sense now. And I just think if more people could see that and understand that, it would make such a huge difference to so many people's lives. People would be able to stay in work. People would get the jobs in the first place because there wouldn't be that misunderstanding, that double empathy problem that happens in job interviews and things like that. Again, there would just be so much more depth and like curiosity and imagination and creativity in workplaces because we're allowing people to exist and function and work in a way that's helpful for them. Yeah, I'd love that.
Yeah, an essential software update. Because you're right, like it reminds me of that meme that's like, having therapy is like someone walking around your brain and going, this is how you're living? I sent it to my therapist when I was having therapy early last year. And I was like, this is exactly my experience of working with you. It's just you're walking around my brain going, this is what you're dealing with on a daily basis. And I'm sure like you and I are like now in that position as people's coaches, diving into getting that view of their brain and being like, wow, there's a lot in here. Like I find myself saying to my clients all the time, like, wow, that's a lot. And then they go, yeah. And I'm like, yeah, that's a lot. Like, FYI, you're carrying a lot. And sometimes that validation is super powerful. And I watch their shoulders drop and then they're like, yeah, it is, isn't it?
Yeah.
But we get it, I think, as fellow neurodivergents. But for someone who doesn't have that kind of brain, yeah, to get a window in on what that's like to live with and just how hectic it is and just how many thoughts on a daily basis, like, yeah. That would be some pretty magic wand waving shit, that would.
It would be pretty spectacular stuff, yeah.
Yeah. So if someone is, what did you say earlier? You had a lovely way of saying it about the aha moment. Penny drop. If someone is in that penny drop moment, like what would you suggest as a sort of first port of call on that journey?
Yeah, it's a big question. And it's I think it's really individual as well. And it depends where you're at. Because if you're having that penny drop moment in the middle of a burnout, that's going to be quite a different experience to having that penny drop moment when you're actually feeling like you're in a reasonably good place. I'd say if you're having that penny drop moment and you're in a burnout, doing whatever you can to give yourself some grace and some time, and to look after yourself as best you can in whatever way that you know you can. And that could be the smallest thing, right? That could be just making sure that you have a nice cup of tea or something, like just the little gestures, making sure you're having regular meals and keeping yourself hydrated. The stuff that sounds small sometimes, but actually is really big in those burnout moments. And if you're coming to that penny drop moment and you've got a bit more space and capacity and there's room for curiosity there, then yeah, lean into that. Like, can you run with the assumption, okay, that maybe this is a thing for you? And if you do run with that assumption, are there some books that kind of call to you? Are there maybe particular stories, people's experiences that you can relate to? Do you want to talk to someone about it? Do you want to go and find neurodivergent folks that are open about their experience and have a conversation with them? Do you want to find coaching? You know, do you want someone to walk that path with you? Which I honestly think is one of the most valuable things that someone can do is to have a companion alongside them for that journey. Because that's what coaching is. That's how I see coaching is, you know, we're not pulling someone along, we're walking alongside them as they uncover this stuff and explore it and understand it. And maybe it's therapy, you know, maybe it's finding a neurodivergent therapist, which again was a game changer for me personally, because for the first ever time, I didn't have to explain myself. Someone just got it, right? I didn't have to translate all of these additional things to this person in front of me. They just got it. And I made such big discoveries and such like steps forward in connecting back with myself through having that space and that time with somebody. So yeah, I think the big one for me is if you've got that capacity, if you're feeling like you have the energy for it, then just getting into that curiosity space, getting into that, oh, what if? What does that mean? As playfully and as lightly as you can, which is a big thing to say because it's not always easy to hold it like that. And yeah, if it's at it from a space of stress and burnout, then it's really that compassionate and gentle and slow and careful. Yeah.
I love that watch out. I think you're the first person to make that distinction. And I think that's, when I've asked a similar question, I think that's such a good catch, is to really think about the space that you're in. Because so many people have the penny drop moment as a result of some kind of burnout. That's often the thing where we begin to look for deeper answers, or the thing just finds you. A friend shares a diagnosis story, or you see an Instagram reel, that might be the moment that you see that thing on TikTok that you think, oh, that's me. But the process of self-diagnosing or getting a diagnosis is much longer than that. Mm-hmm. and the thing that kind of blew my mind about the process, especially now I look back, is how much imposter it came with.
Yeah.
For the longest time, I couldn't say out loud that I thought I had an ADHD brain. I couldn't claim it. I had loads of imposter about asking my GP for a referral. The funny thing about this whole, ADHD is a trend and people are self-diagnosing, is like, actually, if you've been masking your whole life and somehow you've managed to escape the negative pathways of addiction and prison and all the rest of it, there's a huge amount of imposter, because you're like, well, I did all right, but didn't I? And people go, yeah, but you did all right, didn't you? And you're like, did I though? I've now got a little selection of chronic illnesses. And I spent my whole life with unhealthy coping mechanisms. Like, personally narrowly escaped bankruptcy. It was like an eye-watering amount of personal debt. You're like, did I do all right though, really?
Yeah.
You lot might have thought I was, but actually, and then you think about, how much anxiety and depression was woven into that, and no, I don't think I did all right, actually. So yeah, I think it's so complex and personal, but I think you're right. Connecting with either real life people or their stories, and just immersing yourself in what it really looks like in real life, not a list of bald symptoms on a website. The more you do that, I think the more you go, oh, that's me, and that's me, and that's me. And then at some point it's like it's undeniable, whether you've got a diagnosis or not. So, wildcard question. You mentioned books earlier. Are there any particular books you'd recommend? Any that were particularly impactful for you on your journey?
Ooh, I am like an incredibly bookish person. I read a lot, so I have so many lists. But if I think about the most impactful ones, Neuroqueer Heresies by Dr. Nick Walker. Absolutely incredible for diving into the neurodiversity paradigm, for understanding difference as opposed to deficit. Yeah, for really discovering identity and what it means, and kind of finding the acceptance in that. Incredible book that really made me look inwards a lot and evaluate my own understanding of things. I'm quite nerdy, so I quite like historical accounts of things with a lot of information. So if you're into that kind of stuff, Steve Silberman's Neurotribes is amazing, because it is exactly that. It's a historical account of how over the years we've viewed things like autism and ADHD, and how that has changed and shifted in the context of society. And it's a huge book, I'm not going to lie. It's a chunky book, but again, it gave me so much understanding for where so many of these stereotypes come from, and where some of these unhelpful beliefs come from, and where a lot of the assessment criteria fall down, because we're still in this kind of old narrative of exploring a lot of this stuff. So that's incredible as well. I'd give it with a warning that it talks in quite a lot of detail about some of the more difficult situations that a lot of neurodivergent people found themselves in, particularly children. So bit of a sort of health warning there that it can be a difficult read at times as well to go through that for sure. Yeah, and then in terms of like everyday stories, people's experiences, I loved Bianca Toep's book, But You Don't Look Autistic, I think is the title. Nice. And it's quite tongue-in-cheek. It's like got my kind of humour in it. And it was the first book that I really related to a lot of the way that it was being talked about, and found that super helpful. And then she also wrote This Autistic Girl Went to Japan or something like that, which was combining two of my major interests, which is Japanese culture and autism and neurodivergence. And I was just like, this is the book. This is amazing. So, yeah, I mean, there's probably loads more that I could list off and maybe send to you, but there's loads out there, and I highly recommend just maybe going along to like a local independent bookshop and having a look at what's in the sections and having a flick through, see what catches your eye, and keep reading and try and find different accounts from lots of different people with lots of different experiences. I think that's really valuable as well, just to get that kind of broader perspective on all of this.
Yeah, totally. Love that. Oh, definitely adding those to my reading list. And if people have enjoyed listening to you, which I'm sure they have, how can they find you online and what can they expect when they do?
Yeah, so they can find me over on LinkedIn and also on Substack. I'm on Blue Sky now as well, which is really fun. I'm just sort of getting to like orientating myself within Blue Sky and found it quite interesting. And my website as well, curiouscoaching.co.uk. And what you can expect, well, you can expect a lot more kind of existential questioning, that's for sure. You can expect the kind of deeper conversations, the being curious about things. I talk a lot about my own experience as an ADHDer and how that shows up for me. And on my website, you'll find a lot more about how I coach as well. And again, coming from that place of curiosity and making space to understand what it all means for you as an individual, rather than trying to fit you into a framework and tell you what tools you should be using. It's nope. Let's sit together, map it all out, understand it all as best we can, and then think about what do you naturally feel drawn towards in terms of things that are useful and helpful. And that's really how I operate as a coach.
Love that. Yeah. It's definitely a reason we hit it off when we first chatted with each other.
I think so.
It's a lot of alignment. Amazing. Like brain stretching conversation today. I found that deeply satisfying. So yeah, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you. I really enjoyed it. It's been fun.
If you've enjoyed this episode, please do drop this podcast a rating or review. I'd be ever so grateful to reach more of those that need to hear it. So I'd also like to ask you a favour. Who do you know that would benefit from listening to this episode? Please hit share and send it to them too. Thanks so much for listening, and I can't wait to see you here next time. Let's do business differently.